Good morning, Skallywags. Shpoo here, and welcome to Frivolous Facts. There's an old saying that goes, the only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing. In which case, I must be the wisest carbon-based life form ever. Not so much because I know nothing, but rather because I know a lot about nothing important. You see, I absolutely love useless information. Information like the fact that there is no number between 1 and 999 that has the letter A in its written word form. Or things like dance music, specifically Skrillex, can actually ward off mosquitoes. Because apparently mosquitoes have good taste in music. I hear they're big Primus fans. And if you understood that joke, then you understand my stupid sense of humor and we can be friends. And you also might need to seek psychiatric help. So over the previous weeks, we've talked about strange historical facts and weird movie facts, dedicating 2 weeks each to each of those subjects. So by that math, it's time to mix things up again, but I had a lot of fun doing the movie stuff. I'm a big fan of movies, as if you couldn't tell. So while I wanted to do something different, I didn't really want to stray too far away from that. So today we're going to be talking about TV instead. Insert zoom in shot joke here. And here we go. Mila Kunis lied about her age to get the role of Jackie Burkhart on That 70s Show. While the average age of the rest of the cast was 19, and the casting call was looking for minimum 18-year-olds, Mila in reality was only 14. And Ashton Kutcher, who was one of the average 19-year-olds, had to make out with her on camera a lot. As a matter of fact, Jackie and Kelso's first on-screen kiss was actually Mila Kunis's first real-life kiss from a 19-year-old when she was 14. And I know they're married now and they've got kids and stuff, but there's still something kind of creepy and gross about that fact. Both NBC and HBO passed on The Walking Dead, saying that it was simply too violent. NBC, I totally understand. But have you seen, literally anything on HBO? And yet The Walking Dead is too violent? You know nothing, HBO. Speaking of Game of Thrones, members of Coldplay, Snow Patrol, Mastodon, Sigur Rós, and of Monsters and Men have all guest starred on the show at some point in time during its run. Oh yeah, and so did Starbucks. Will Smith only said yes to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because he owed almost $3 million worth of back taxes to the IRS. Like a lot of young people who suddenly wake up one morning and find themselves to be rich and famous, Will Smith kind of burned through his money faster than he was earning it. And if there's one thing that people tend to forget when they kind of go from an average life to suddenly being filthy rich, is that all those fancy cars and that mansion that you just bought, you kind of have to pay taxes on that stuff. He was so far in debt, as a matter of fact, that the IRS even took 70% of every single paycheck that he got for the first 3 seasons of the show. And he tried to explain that it was all just a big mistake, that he was a dumb kid that didn't know what he was doing, but no matter how much he explained it, his parents just didn't understand. It's a shame, really. I like to think that somebody out there gives me a rim shot every time I tell a terrible joke. Muppets are all left-handed. That's all. And Ron Howard is a draft dodger. I kid. But no, really. He only took the job on Happy Days to avoid being sent off to Vietnam. Apparently he had what was considered to be a completely terrible draft number, like either 41 or 42. And since the government had stopped taking college deferments and he was in college, he took the job on Happy Days to get himself a work deferment. You make America proud. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was the first TV show to use the word Google as a verb. Kelsey Grammer is the first actor to win an Emmy on 3 different shows for playing the same character. That, of course, being Frasier Crane. First it was Cheers, later came Frasier, there was also Wings. You forgot about Wings, didn't you? That show introduced us to Tony Shalhoub. The black fur worn by the members of the Night's Watch on Game of Thrones, every single one of them are made from rugs from IKEA. And I don't know why, but I find that fact absolutely hilarious. Saturday Night Live has won more Emmys than any other show on television. And that's another show that I could probably do an entire episode on. I mean, I'm definitely not going to because I'm really not an SNL fan, but I could. You know how like really old TV shows had married couples still sleeping in like separate twin beds? WandaVision even did a joke on that trope. Well, the first TV couple to actually share a bed together were none other than Fred and Wilma Flintstone. Speaking of the modern Stone Age family, Pebbles was originally going to be a boy. That is, until an executive came along and said, you should make her a girl because then we can sell dolls. And it turned out to be a very smart move because they broke $3 million in 2 months. Yabba dabba cha-ching. It's out there somewhere. A country-specific version of The Office has been adapted in over 80 countries. And the American version is the most viewed thing on Netflix worldwide. Meaning that even though every single country, or at least 80 countries, have adapted the show with its own characters, its own storylines, that the one from the US is still the best one. And that's what she said. In 2012, 146 babies were born whose so-called parents decided to just doom their child to a life of ridicule, I guess, by naming the child Khaleesi. So 2012, that means that the kids are turning 9 this year. So I'm sure they're pretty much already feeling the wrath. Parents, just stop it with the stupid names. Oh wait, my name is Shpoo. What was I talking about? Technically this one's about a movie, but it's based on a TV show, so I'm still gonna give it to you. In 1988, before the relaunch of the show, the recalibration of the show, and the giant boost in super fans, we almost got a Doctor Who movie. And who, pray tell, would have played the good doctor in this adaptation? Well, the short list was down to only 2 people. Michael Jackson or Bill Cosby. Somehow, I don't feel like the relaunch and recalibration would have gone over quite so well if that movie had ended up happening. No sonic screwdriver's gonna fix that one. Speaking of weird adaptations, we almost got a Krusty the Clown spin-off show. A live-action Krusty the Clown spin-off show. It would have starred Dan Castellaneta, who of course voices Krusty in Homer Simpson, and it would have revolved around Krusty moving to LA after getting his own talk show. Why is it always X character moves to LA? Spin-offs are generally just a bad idea, okay? I mean, just look at like Joey or That 80s Show. You know, TV has really come a long way. I mean, hell, the Bradys didn't even have a toilet because they were afraid it would offend people. But one of TV, and movie for that matter, one of the most iconic characters in general, was almost booted off of the show that he was first introduced to us in simply because they were afraid of offending people. And that character's name was Spock. Well, how the hell could Spock offend anybody? Turns out that's an ironic choice of words, because TV executives thought that Spock's pointy ears made him look satanic, and they were afraid that it would scare off their largely Christian audience. Were there a lot of Christians watching Star Trek? I've never heard this demographic. I genuinely don't know. Live long and bow to the Dark One. Nowadays, computers are simply everywhere you look. I mean, we even carry the vast expanse of the internet in our pockets. But the honor of being the first TV family to own a home computer goes to, drumroll, the Addams Family. And yet somehow creepy, kooky, and technologically ahead of the curve just doesn't have quite as good of a rhythmic ring to it. By the way, bonus fact, Batman came in second. Firefly has been permanently added to the International Space Station as a form of entertainment for the astronauts. If it's good enough to be in real space, it's good enough to be on our TVs. You like The Mandalorian? Firefly did it first. So bring it back, please. On May 22nd, 1992, during Johnny Carson's final episode of The Tonight Show, Comedy Central went completely dark. Instead of airing its normal lineup, they simply put up a sign that simply read, "Watching Johnny Carson's last show, and so should you." And that is why Johnny Carson was the best Tonight Show host ever. And finally, there is a season 7 episode of The Cosby Show titled The Last Barbecue, in which Bill Cosby, or rather his character Cliff Huxtable, brags about his special barbecue sauce that lowers women's inhibitions, makes women more susceptible, and makes them, in his own words, get all huggy-buggy. He then asks his wife if she's ever noticed that after one of their barbecues and people have had some of that sauce, that all they want to do is rush home to Pound Town. He then even says that right now there is some waiting upstairs on the nightstand, and that he intends to give it to her for her to drink. So they should head upstairs right now to Pound Town. Somehow I don't find that episode so funny anymore. And that should just about do it. Let me know your favorite frivolous fact in the comments below. In the meantime, feel free to check us out across all of our social media. We are, of course, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Oh, I mixed it up from how I usually say it. That's weird. I do a collectible of the day on all of those platforms so you can see all this crap behind me in glorious detail. As long as you're here watching the show, why don't you click that little subscribe button down at the bottom there. It takes you half a second, and, that way you don't miss out on any of the wonderful content that we post every Monday through Friday. Be sure to like and comment and share everything as well, because, well, those help us out. And one last little favor before you go, pop on over to www.geekycool.com if you would. That is your one-stop shop for all things nerd. You're gonna find articles, news, opinion pieces, a category list that's like 1.5 miles long, covering comics and movies and TV and you name it. If it's a nerd thing, it's on there somewhere. They even do a live show every Tuesday night. It's an interactive show, so you can join in on the fun, and you should do so because it is fun. I'm on there myself quite a bit. That's every Tuesday night. You can also find them on Facebook, on YouTube as well. Again, it's www.geekycool.com. Go show some love. Tell them Skallywags sent you. I don't know why I'm doing this with my hands, but I can't stop now. Please, somebody help me. And yeah, that's gonna do it for today. So, I'm just gonna... Okay, bye.